Hello everybody, this is Richard from Janus Motorcycles, and we thought with the weather turning and becoming warmer and warmer that we'd do a video talking about taking your bike out of winterization and getting it ready for spring. This does not necessarily mean that you need to do a full service. Depending on your service interval and when your last service was, this may just be the things that you need to do to get the bike to check and get the bike ready to ride. On the other hand, if you are ready for a service, maybe now's a good time to take it to your local repair shop. Talk to us about finding one of those if you don't already have one, or if you're in our area, you could bring it by Janus and have us do your scheduled maintenance. As you go through this process, you may need some parts and supplies, oil, brake pads, any kind of parts, supplies, or tools. And you can go to our website and to the parts and tools section to find a lot of those items that you may need. So if you haven't already, take a look at the website and check out what we have available for your bike. If it's not something you can find, give us a call and we can probably help you out with that. For our parts and tools section, we'll have a link below down in the description so you can go ahead and find those items. So first off, we're gonna look at the oil, air, spark, gas, and carb. So that means we're gonna check, very important, we're gonna check the oil level. On the 250, you can check your oil level very easily, and I recommend checking that frequently. It never hurts to check your oil level, but we have a dipstick and a sight glass. So the sight glass is a really easy way to check your oil level. Now we have this bike right now on our service stand, which is available for the 250 line. And that's clips onto the bottom of your foot pegs and is a kind of you operate it by levering it up. But what you'll notice is the bike is kicked forward. And so if you want to check your oil level, either with the dipstick or the sight glass, you want to have that on the ground and vertical, so not on the side stand. That's kind of important to note. Fuel. Fuel is going to be the most likely thing that's going to give you a hard time getting your bike out of winter storage, other than the battery. If you put the bike away in September and it was fuel with ethanol in it, or it was old gas at the time, you might have some issues starting your bike. So things that you can do to mitigate that are when you put the bike away. When you winterize your bike, it's really helpful to turn off the fuel, drain the carburetor float bowl, and then put a stabilizer in your fuel tank. You can get the fuel stabilizer at your auto parts store, any auto parts store, and that's going to guarantee that your gas is going to be, it's a much better chance of being ready to ride and start when you get ready to ride the bike in the spring. But if the gas is bad, you might even have to drain it if it's been a really long time or if you had bad gas to start with. Other things to keep in mind there is if there was bad gas in there, if you didn't turn off the petcock or drain the float bowl and you're having trouble, the carburetor may need to be cleaned. We have videos on carburetor cleaning for the 250 that you can check out, and we will have links to those. Also, while we're on the topic of winterizing, so really important with the fuel especially, we have a video on how to winterize your bike. So please check that out for next season, and then it'll really help you with the de-winterizing process. If your bike is having trouble starting, other things to check would be cleaning your air filter and checking your spark plug. A spark plug that's been too dark or has been run rich will make the bike harder to start. So that is something additional to check as well if you're having trouble starting the bike in the spring. On that note, we have a lot of those items available on our website. So we offer engine oil, which is definitely, if you're ready for an engine oil change, springtime is a good time to do that. If you're going to do one once a year, it's a really good time to change your oil in the spring, because engine oil will break down even if it is not being run in the bike. So if you're going to do an oil change, it makes a lot of sense to do that right at the beginning of the riding season. You can get an oil filter from us, replacement spark plugs, which are good to just have on hand anyway, and you can also get replacement air filters on the site to help you with all this process. Next up, we will look at wheels, tires, drive chain, and brakes. So the things to check here would be tire pressure, tread depth. So to find the tire pressure and tread depth consult your owner's handbook. It's going to have all the specs for each bike and model available. Also checking tire alignment. That means if you've done a lot of chain adjustment at the rear of the bike, make sure that the wheel is properly aligned. We recommend sometimes a tape measure can be helpful with that to make sure that the bike isn't kind of crab walking with the wheel out of adjustment. Next up, chain tension. Chain tension is definitely something you're going to want to check in the spring regardless, and probably several more times during the summer. Chain tension is measured right here, and you will have specifics for your model of Janus available in your handbook. That varies depending on model, even in the 250 range. And finally, we'll want to check brake fluid. Your brake master cylinders each have a sight glass. So the front brake has a sight glass at the front of it, and your rear master cylinder has one on the back. And that's an easy visual inspection to make sure you're not low or have a leak. Another good thing to do is just to check around your brake master cylinder in lines and even caliper to check if there's any sign of brake fluid leakage in those areas. Brake fluid is kind of a caustic substance, so you want to get that off as soon as you can, as soon as you notice it. Next up would be brake pads. I know I need to do this because my bike's in need of one of these as well, or fresh brake pads. But you can check your brake pads on the bike in most cases with a dial caliper. It makes it a lot easier. And what you're looking for is the thickness of that pad. And they actually, all of our bikes have wear lines in the brake pad. And so when those wear lines disappear, basically that's a sign that you must get new pads. But the specs on brake pad thickness are in your owner's handbook, and you can check that for the exact details about that. Next up would be checking your wheels. It's always a good idea to take a look at your rims and hubs for any kind of damage. If you hit a rock or a curb, a dent in the rim, something you want to check. Check your spokes. If you've broken a spoke, or if one or more spokes is loose or overly tight, great thing to check. I mean, this can be really detailed, or it can be as simple as just feeling the spoke and making sure they're all around the same tension. Some people can even, hit it with a wrench and make sure that the note is the same all the way around. And that actually is a pretty effective way of checking the spoke tension. While we're looking at the wheels, now would be a good time to check your drive chain and your front and rear sprockets for wear. We have a great illustration in the owner's handbook of how to check your sprockets for wear and also how to check your drive chain for wear. And that's something that is a great way to start off the year with a new drive chain, especially if you're putting a lot of miles on the bike. Next up is clutch. This would be checking your clutch movement, the action, that it's smooth. This would be a great time to lubricate your clutch and throttle cables. We have information again on that in the handbook. Not only the action of the clutch, but your clutch play. You want to have just the right amount of clutch play so that the clutch engages easily, so that you can find neutral easily at a stop, and that you can make sure that your clutches aren't wearing prematurely. We have a lot of information on that both on our YouTube channel and in the owner's handbook. You can also check, I'll add to this list here, you can check for throttle play. You want to have just the slightest bit of play there. Again, plenty of information in the handbook on that, but a great thing to check in the spring. Again, we have tires, tubes, and brake pads available on our site. Let's say your drive chain is worn or a sprocket is worn. Again, we offer those, and if you don't see it on the site, give us a call. We can help you out with finding the right part. And there's plenty of information in your owner's handbook on how to check if an item is worn, like the drive chain or the brake pads. Next up, we're going to go through the electronics, speedometer, lights, and battery. So first, definitely, if you did nothing else in the spring, checking your fuel and battery are the two most important things, and just in terms of getting the bike started. And again, I'll reiterate this. When you put the bike away in the fall, is the best thing you can do to the preventative maintenance to make sure that your battery is in good condition to start well in the spring. So A battery tender is absolutely a fantastic way to make sure that you don't have to buy a new battery in the spring, or at worst, put it on, or better off putting it in a charger. But it will maintain the health of your battery over the period when you're not using the bike. So what you're checking for is to see that your battery voltage is over 12.4 volts. On all the bikes equipped with a digital speedometer, which is the majority of our bikes, you can access a readout showing your battery voltage. Wait for it to calibrate here. We'll cycle through temperature, and this is showing 12.9 volts. So definitely this is good to go. One thing I'd like to make clear is that if you really want to get an accurate reading of your battery, this is a great kind of way to check the battery voltage. Make sure if it's not turning over well, you can check it there. But if you want to get a really accurate reading of your battery, you need to take that from the battery terminals on the battery with a multimeter. Yeah, just wanted to make that clear. All right, our speedometers can read a little lower voltage than the battery actually has, so that's another reason to do that. Cycling through your speedometer functions, just like we just did. Great to just check, make sure everything's working properly, that the speedometer is calibrating. And next up, we'll talk about your lighting. So you want to check, make sure that your headlight is working properly, and possibly even more important, your tail light is working properly. Check both your front and rear brake. So I'm going to squeeze the front brake lever, and we can see that that's working properly. And then I'll go over here and depress the rear brake, and we can see that that's working as well. It's very unsafe if only one of those two were working and you didn't use the rear brake, for example, and you didn't have a brake light. You could be rear-ended that way. Turn indicators, real easy to check. We'll just activate the left and right, make sure they cancel properly. Also, I missed this, but check your high beam is working. You have your high beam on-off switch, and you also have your passing beam, which is good to check as well. As far as items that you may need to replace or source for these electrical system checks, we offer new batteries, the battery tender, which I highly recommend you get, replacement bulbs, both for the LED option and incandescent, as well as turn indicator bulbs. So if you need any of those, you find one of them's not working, you can purchase those off our website. If there's an issue with why one's not working, just give us a call. Next up, we'll cover accessories. We're excited to say that we've just brought on a new team member, Jamie, who's managing our merchandise and parts. And so we've restocked quite a few of our components. So if you haven't checked recently, check our online store again, and you'll find a lot more stuff. As far as accessories, we offer a cover. And a cover is a great way to keep the bike clean in the wintertime. Even if it's in your garage, there's going to be a lot of dust and dirt that collects on it. And a cover is a good way to, you pull that cover off and it's going to be real clean and ready to go for spring. Service stand. We just showed you the service stand. Service stand is a great way to get the rear wheel off without hoisting the bike up or anything like that. It's also, for those of you who maybe don't service your drive chain enough, our manual says every 250 miles, and that will prolong the life of your sprockets and your drive chain. And if you've ever tried to lubricate a drive chain in a motorcycle without a service stand or a center stand, it means rolling the bike while applying the lubricant, and it can be kind of difficult. The nice thing about a service stand is you can just stand here and rotate the rear tire while you're applying your chain lube. Makes it really easy. So really great thing to have for a number of reasons. Lots of different service tasks are made easier with the service stand. We sell helmet rests. I've got several right here. I keep my helmets on them every day. They're great. It has a coat hook helmet rest, which protects the lining of your helmet. It's not like a single point inside the lining of your helmet. It's a nice distributed wooden little block that it rests on. And on top of it, along with the little Janus logo, is a place where you can rest your gloves. And that's just, most helmet rests don't have a place for your gloves, and I think that's really great. Key fobs. If you don't have one, it's a nice way to locate your key, and it will not damage the powder coat on your Janus. As far as additional items that you can purchase on our store, leather care products. This is a great way at the beginning of the riding season to apply something that's both going to clean up your leather goods, which for everybody's going to have a leather battery cap and a leather seat, no matter what options you get. But if you have saddlebags, pillion seat, sprung pillion seat, this is a great, it will waterproof your leather and recondition it. So a great thing to do at the beginning of the riding season. We sell Obanoff products, a number of different products, waterproofing, cleaning, and conditioning products, which are, Obanoff's is really the gold standard of leather care products, American made. On the topic of leather, currently we have a decent collection of kind of seconds and discounted leather goods. So if you've always wanted a pillion seat or saddlebags or a different color, check out our website and see what we have available, or give us a call and see if we have what you have what you're looking for. And it's a discounted price. So that'll be up for a little bit. We'll see how long it lasts. This is a great place to start for your spring de-winterizing process for your Janus. Our owner's handbook goes over all the different steps. So if you have questions on that, check your handbook and you can get more details. Again, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're ready for a scheduled maintenance, maybe now's a good time to go ahead and do that. It'll list all the things you need to check. In addition to these, we highly recommend the Motorcycle Safety Foundation's T-Clocks checklist. It's available as a free download on the MSF or Motorcycle Safety Foundation site, and it goes over many of these things, and it's very comprehensive. And it's a great thing to check, even if maybe you don't do it every single ride, which they recommend. Maybe you do it once a month, but it's a great thing to just go through all the aspects of your bike and make sure that what you're getting on and getting out in traffic in is safe and in roadworthy condition. As I mentioned earlier, if you haven't checked out our online store recently, a lot of items have been restocked and a lot of new items have been put up there. So do please take a look at our online store. We'll have a link in the description below and see what else we have available. We have everything that we've mentioned in this video and quite a bit more. Lots more merchandise, new items are up, and a lot more will be coming. So check that out if you haven't recently. So we hope that this has been helpful for you in getting your bike ready for spring. And we look forward to hearing lots of stories from folks as more and more people get on their Janus. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll catch you at the next video.